Well, here we are working on this 27 Bugatti kit car on a 71 Super Beetle frame. And this is kind of, hillbilly. I've got some tape over some unused vacuum ports that was leaking really bad or cracked. I shortened the vacuum hoses and taped those off and pushed those back onto some ports that are used. And I want to see if I can get this thing running to begin with. Now, we were cranking on it the other day before I picked it up, and I did get some fuel up to the filter at least. So it should be pumping fuel into the carb. Now that I have some vacuum ports plugged off, I want to see if this will at least fire a little bit. I don't know if this has got a automatic choke. Let's see. Pull on the throttle, choke closes. So I'm gonna see if I got any fuel there. I'm going to put a little squirt of wreck fuel right down the port and see if we get any fire. I could also check for spark, but I do believe that that system's good to go. Once we get this primed, it should run, so we say. I dumped a little fuel right into the carburetor. Let's see what happens. Well, that's cool. Now, right off the bat, I would like to point something out. Well, first of all, that's warm on the knee. Forgot about exhaust. My fuel filter is post-fuel pump. I would rather see the fuel filter having fuel pulled through it into the pump, pressurized to the carburetor. So in my list of things, preliminary, I'm going to move my fuel filter pre-pump from the pump straight to the carburetor. Now also, I've been told for many a years that having a plastic fuel filter right above the exhaust of a Volkswagen engine is a perfect primo way to start fires. Say this thing's rattling, bouncing, going down the road, cracks, spraying fuel right on the carburetor. So we're going to get some vacuum parts, we're going to get some fuel line parts, we're going to get a new fuel filter, and we're going to prime the system from the tank. There's a few gallons of fresh gas in there, and that'll kind of be a let's see if this thing will run better preliminary deal. That's going to be our first steps. Second steps, once we know it runs, I'm just going to let it idle, maybe even jack it up, put it in gears that it will run. I'm going to get that transmission gear oil just moving around. Drain all that out and fill it with fresh, adequate oil. So that fuel line right there comes out of the chassis, right out of the frame horn, turns to rubber, becomes steel for a little while, back to rubber to the fuel pump, comes out of the fuel pump, through this filter and into the carburetor. We are going to go new rubber to this steel line, to a steel fuel filter, to the pump, up to the carburetor, just like that. Hey everybody, one quick little tidbit here. Another reason that I wanted to put the fuel filter before the fuel pump is that also eliminates that whole fire hazard issue. So say down the road somebody does replace that steel filter with a plastic one, it's now on the vacuum side of things. So there's nothing pressurizing a way to feed or fuel a fire. So just keep that in mind. That whole plastic fuel filter thing's a big deal, and it's a whole lot cheaper, but then again, is it really worth losing your car? I did run down to the parts store and get a few items to get this thing going, since I have good spark and it did fire with fuel in the car, but I'm not too worried about ignition parts. They look to be pretty clean. So I've got gear oil for the transmission. I've got engine oil for the engine. There is no filter on these, if you didn't know. It's just a screen you clean out. That 33031 is a new steel inline filter. Got plenty of fuel line for the tractors and everything else around here. Some vacuum caps and new vacuum line. So I've got this thing running, and there may be a little left to be desired as far as performance goes, but I threw the shifter together, and it's got new bushings, new clips, and all that stuff. Now that little white-ish clip bushing did have the ring clip on this side, but this is a very short shifter. That normally has like a 3-foot rod, and it doesn't today. So I put the ring clip on the inside, and we're going to see how this works. Wow. Good news, bad news. Good news, it shifts very well. Bad news, it does not run very well. We got some work to do. We got some tuning up to do. I might even throw that carburetor in a bath, a Berryman carb dip bath, because it's just not quite right. There's sometimes when it's backfiring through the carb, and there's times where I have to basically put my hand over the entire carb to get it to run, which tells me fuel. But I'm kind of knocking that list of things to do down as I go. I bet if I stirred up all that garbage in that bowl, it would get quite cloudy. So that's a real good reason to take that whole thing apart, clean it well. Thanks again for watching. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing. Also, more important, comment. Tell me what you like about the videos. Tell me what you don't like about the videos. Ask questions if I haven't explained things enough. I like to figure things out myself. I also like to help other people figure things out too. So that's kind of the direction I go here, is giving some examples, maybe things not what not to do, and learn from it so we can all learn together. Have a great day. Thanks again for watching.